All right, we are a go with, and I'm. This is a bonus episode. A bonus episode, I tell you. And I'm here with JP Reinflesh the ninth, the
Mm,
fantastic, the amazing, the wonderful.
That's too much.
Um, these are all words you told me to call you.
That is
Uh,
correct. It is part of the contract.
okay. For JP to come on your podcast, you have
Mhm.
to call him nice things in
Yep,
triplets.
that's
Um,
correct.
okay, so we came on to talk about your Kickstarter
Yeah,
because you have one and it's
I do.
doing well. It could be doing better.
Yeah.
And I demand that everyone that listens to the podcast go make it do better. This is, and so I hit you up and I was like, hey, let's talk about it on the podcast so that people will actually remember to go and do the thing.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so talk to me about what is Kickstarter. Let's just start from the beginning. What
Yeah.
is Kickstarter?
Okay. So first off, I am obsessed with Kickstarter. I have backed 99 projects.
Oh my gosh.
I've been obsessed with it pretty much since like
And a
college.
bitch ain't one. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Sure.
So-
I really wanted it to get to 100, but I was like, no, 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 be responsible. So it's at a healthy
Good,
99.
you froze it right there at 99. That's good.
Yeah,
You don't
for
want to
now.
overdo, you don't want to like overindulge. You want to keep
Yeah.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But I love Kickstarter. I've literally been using it since college. Mostly for, I mean, it started off with like video games and with like board games, a lot of tabletop RPGs, and then it ended up into publishing. So I've kind of seen it progress over actually a really long period of time, just being a backer on it. But the
Yeah,
whole concept behind it is you as a creator or an inventor or something have an idea and you want to make that idea come to life. But you may not have the funds to do so, or you may not have the assurance that when that comes to life, people will buy it. So
truth.
this is basically a way to say, I have this idea. Who is in? Who wants it?
I
And
love
you
it.
can make these things like these various tiers, or if you have one product and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna make this special product, whatever the singular thing is. And
Yeah,
that's sort of the thing you grab. People grab it. You have a funding goal. Like, if we reach this much money, I will make it happen. And then the expectation is when the like period of time for that crowdfunding window, because crowdfunding should always have a beginning and end date. Um, if it funds within that window, then it's sort of on the expectation that the creator of that project will then make that product, whatever it is, and send it out to the backers.
Hmm.
So that's the gist of what Kickstarter is. It's a crowdfunding to basically pre-fund something into existence.
I love it. And
Yeah.
you've got your crowd funding. I'm just going to share my screen so people can see it.
Ooh,
I know I'm so fancy.
you're
I'm
fancy.
so fancy. Now watch me not be able to find the button or share the wrong screen. I was in a meeting a couple of days ago doing a presentation and I spent 25 minutes sharing the wrong screen. And nobody said anything. I was like, and you can see on this slide, and they're just like, I was like, none of y'all are listening. So this is your Kickstarter. I'm gonna move my
Yeah.
go backer out of there. This is your Kickstarter, Mosswood Apothecary Cozy Queer Fantasy Collector's Edition.
hmm
Um, you have at the time that we're recording this, there's 12 days to go, but when it's going to be published, there are only 11 days to go. So don't go mark on your calendar that you have 12 days to sign up for this.
Yeah.
You nonsense people. Don't do
Yeah.
that.
Ends
Um,
on May 26th, my birthday. Another reason to
does
back
it
it.
really?
Did I plan it that way? Yeah, I did.
Man, look at you. Okay, so talk to me about the planning that goes into this.
Yeah.
What did you have to do to make a Kickstarter?
I had to not hit the launch button in January when I wanted to. That was the big thing.
That's tough. That
So,
that is some serious restraint. Look, as somebody who has published all of his books earlier than
mhm.
they should be,
Yeah. Yeah. So
it
I
is
learned
hard.
that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with Kickstarter, we're starting to see a lot more publishing. I absolutely adore Sasha Black or Ruby Rowe. I've seen how her Kickstarters have gone. I have a local author, Brendan Noble. I've seen how his Kickstarters have gone, and there's Herman as well, who has listened to this podcast and is a big part of the Rebel Author area section. And so like I've seen how their Kickstarters have gone. I've really loved and adored it, and I love the concept of publishing novels and basically using Kickstarter as a platform to make for me to make the fancy or pretty books. So the gist of this Kickstarter is to have the thing with the sprayed edges and the shiny lettering, and then to get art into it. And then the idea is that when I make the standard editions and when I put those on places like Amazon and whatever, they'll have the art inside of it. They just won't have
Nice.
the shiny lettering. They won't have the sprayed edges.
I love it.
So that's the gist of it. Now, a lot of publishing Kickstarters have a lower funding goal. Mine was 1,000. I kind of know that the story overall, like the things that I needed to get the story out in the world, have already sort of been done. Um,
Mm,
because the story launched as a Kindle Vella back in March of 2024, and
yeah.
it did very well over there. So I had the funding in order to get this to basically come out. But I wanted to sort of make this fancy version, and I wasn't going to spend a ton of money on art if at the end of the day no one wanted it. So now that we've hit 1,000, which was the funding goal, we have stretch goals. So you're already scrolling to like unlocked illustrations. We've actually at this point unlocked 7 total
Ooh,
full page illustrations.
nice.
Also, we've unlocked custom chapter headers. So um, for those that have read Wheel of Time, when there's a new chapter, there's always like this symbol or this image
Hmm.
for character swaps. And
Yeah.
then also in the Harry Potter series by the horrible author, and I will say that out loud. um,
She who shall not be named.
yeah, exactly. Also did this with chapters. There were illustrations on
Yeah.
the front of every chapter. And so I was just like, I really want that. I want a fancy version that has that. So that was another thing that ended up being one of those stretch goals.
Love it. I'm
Yeah,
super excited.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I love that you got this all set up. I love that like it's all like your goals are very cool. I backed it $100 because I want all the cool
Neat.
accoutrements that come with it.
Accoutrement.
Accoutrement. Um, which I love. So what have you had to do to publicize this?
Oh
Because
my.
I know authors right now are like, maybe I'll do a Kickstarter. And you mentioned our friend Sasha Ruby. So
Hmm.
it is not a she didn't just do a Kickstarter. You don't just
Yeah.
go on Kickstarter and be like, I'm gonna start this. Like, what
Yeah.
did you have to do to get this? Are you okay to talk about that?
Yeah. How I'm happy to talk about
Okay.
it.
I didn't know
So,
if your deal with the devil and like the portion of your soul you had to sell.
I
Actually.
mean, that's obvious, but here are the other things. So, I really wanted to do this Kickstarter and I didn't really know where to start. And the idea, of course, and aside from the fact that I have backed other authors, and I think that there's that thing that like you don't have to do something brand new. You can
Mm,
adapt what other people have done. So I really did look at how Ruby had set up her Kickstarter, as well as how Brenda Noble and Herman have set theirs up, and sort of got an idea as to like what's the flow for successful Kickstarters. Um, Way at the beginning, I had a lot of plans for this Kickstarter. And I'm lucky enough that I was able to reach out to Sasha and just was like, hey, I have this idea. Can I run it by you? And she was super gracious with her time and basically yelled at me and told me, do not do this thing. Do not do this thing. I wanted to do like an audiobook. And she's like, you have to figure out what your goal is in this overall. And part of it is that like this is income. I am, and I didn't know this at the time, but now I am a full-time author, not necessarily
yeah,
by
when you
choice.
started the Kickstarter, that was not the plan.
Right. But
Yeah.
I did want I mean like I want this to be a sustaining thing. So I need to put that into recognition. So I knew that what's my goal? My goal is to make a pretty book. Anything extra to that is in the way of that, to
Mm,
more or less. So if I wanted to do an audiobook, that wouldn't be correlative to what I'm trying to do here. It's
yeah.
just an extra thing and it would be an extra cost. So, pretty book, period. Um, I think I talked to her back in January, maybe late December, and she had said and I'd planned to originally release this in March. She had said, "You plan to do that in March? This should be up the moment you get off of this call. you should have a thing up. 3 months is like the shortest window that she was sort of suggesting, or at
Mm,
least the window to start getting followers to it, because the more people that follow it, the more attention it sort of gets on Kickstarter as well in
gotcha.
that period. And then also everyone gets an email when it launches. So it's super important to get sort of that notify me on launch, because that helps
Mm,
get the attention.
yeah.
Um, so what did I do in the meantime? I
So
put it up.
you had a 3 month window where you're just
Exactly.
like putting it up and you're just sitting on your hands doing nothing,
Screaming.
screaming at the heavens, praying that people find it without any work on your part.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
Yeah,
exactly what I
that's
did.
exactly what you did.
No, I did not. So I had originally tried a Facebook ad for I think less than a week, and then I turned it off because I was like, I don't want to do this. This is not the direction I want to go. Um,
Mhm.
I already do Twitch streams, so I already have a small but dedicated audience. And then I also have TikTok that at the time was doing well, and it still is, but at the time it was starting to really like peak or do its big thing.
Yeah,
So I knew that I had the opportunity to leverage more of the get my face out there and tell people about it. I used Twitch as my way to incentivize people. I knew that on Twitch, it's super popular for people to do sort of giveaways or to do certain things within their chat communities and have goals.
Mm,
Now, a lot of Twitch streamers, their goals are, follower goals, subscriber goals, all of these things that are integrated in Twitch, but you don't have to do those. You could do whatever you wanted. So I started to do backer goals. And I said,
nice.
like, if you guys help me promote my stuff. I'll give you the social links that I've posted. You sort of share them, like them, comment, let other people know about it. And we hit these certain goals, we'll do little giveaways and chat and stuff like that. And that really helped. I ended up with I think before it launched it was at 300 something. I can't remember how
Mm,
many like people to notify me. And now we're at 124, so you can see that like the turnaround value of that pretty
yeah,
significant, I would
yeah,
say.
it's huge.
So, I
Yeah,
mean, that was one of the big things is I leveraged what I had. Um, of course, some people do the Facebook ads, but I knew that I had sort of a dedicated audience that was willing to sort of shout out.
nice. That's great. Um, and I know how hard you've been. The reason I bring it up is because I know how hard you've been working on it. Because I
Mhm.
follow your social media streams and I know that you are on them all the time and you're doing a good job with it. So I just wanted to shout that out to you.
Yeah.
Okay, what else do people need to besides knowing to go to the site and log in? What else do people need to know about your Kickstarter?
Um, well, I want to quick talk about before I know I'm jumping around.
You can do
Um,
whatever you want.
for the people that are interested in doing a Kickstarter, know that, like I had said a couple minutes ago, that I'd planned to launch in March. And when you go to start a Kickstarter, you can say your planned date to launch, but that is
Mm.
not a definitive date.
Oh,
This is
nice.
not putting a pre-order up on Amazon. You're not going to get in trouble, and it's not going to launch without your permission. Um, so like it said March, and I think it still says March, but I hit launch on the 6th of May. Um, and no one on the front side can see that. It's just
Mm.
you and Kickstarter who can see that. So that's one of the benefits of having a Kickstarter, and sort of having that buffer zone in between,
Yeah.
because like I had to wait because I ordered the some sample copies from Book Vault, and they took almost 6 weeks to get here from the UK, because I needed to get the
Mm.
sprayed edges and the shiny lettering. Because as you can see in the Kickstarter, I have a photographer who took pictures. It was really important to me to have pictures of the product even ahead of time, because I
Yeah.
knew that that was something that was really important, because that's how Sasha had done it before, and
Mm.
I knew that that was something to mimic. So I answered that, which wasn't your question. Now
No.
for for backers or someone who's interested in it, like The idea behind this Kickstarter is a pretty book. I want to put illustrations in it as much as possible.
Mm,
That's why most of the stretch goals are for illustrations. We're already over 600% funded, and we have stretch goals. Stretch goals are basically incentives to continue moving this forward, incentives for people to keep talking about it and to keep sort of funding it, because the more funding, the more fun things happen.
hmm
We've unlocked character bookmarks, illustrations, end paper artwork, more illustrations, the custom sprayed edge, which I need to update the image, um, which is another fun thing. Every image you see, I have made in Canva, and then every little unlock I have then made in Canva and re-uploaded. So that is another thing you will learn to do if you run a Kickstarter. And there'll be stickers. And upcoming next is I have, I think, three additional illustration locks, and then a novella if we end up hitting in the five
mm,
figures.
nice.
So I wanted to get that one out because I know that I want art in it. And I'm hoping that a lot of people want art in it. But I also know that if another stretch goal is just another piece of art, people are gonna be like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
So I know one to show off the artwork, to show off the sketching as I get it in. But then also I really wanted to hit the like let everyone know that the novella is at the five figures.
hmm
Because I think that that's actually very doable. We're on the first week of the Kickstarter and we have 2 weeks left. We're in the lull zone, which is perfect for this recording because now that we're in like the middle zone, this is where Kickstarters usually sort of just flatline for a hot
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
This is a great time to check it out. I also have backer goals, which I think is another way to sort of incentivize, which also means that backing it at $1 um, suggests that maybe we'll get another illustration in the book. And then if you are someone who's a little bit tighter on money and you can wait until, let's say, December when the standard editions release, you've benefited because now you'll get an extra illustration because you backed it at the dollar.
Yeah. So even if you're not like, man, I am ready to invest my entire portfolio into JP's
But you
Kickstarter,
should. But that's,
you can
another.
come in back for $1 just to show your support.
Yeah.
That is something that happens. So do that. Um, I'm just gonna keep saying, go do it. Yeah, no, I think what you've done is really cool. I think it looks amazing. I'm really excited about the way you've produced this. I think it does a cool, I think you're doing a very cool thing where you're taking a good story that you wrote
Hmm.
that has, excellent dialogue, wonderful characters, a great story arc, and then you're taking it and making it this like piece of art and
Yeah.
bringing more artwork around it. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to do with a good book.
And like one of the reasons why, and I think that I mean, ideally we have a lot of people who are listening and thinking about doing their own Kickstarter. Like
hmm
one of the reasons why I did this one is because I'd already done Mandrake Manor and I've gone from Vela to publish.
hmm
And I don't have artwork in the book, but people really do talk about the like um poems that happen before the chapters start, and they really enjoy those, and it's just like this extra little touch to the book. um and I knew that Mosswood did really well on Vela, and I know that the I liken it to like a Studio Ghibli film,
hmm
and because of that, artwork that looks in that style is would be wise to put into the book. Um, but if I was left completely alone to my own devices, 90% of this book would be artwork, and I can't afford that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I need to be responsible, which is why I have the Kickstarter. But also, like, I've just made another stepping stone in between of another piece of work that this
Mm.
work is able to become, and then it can also become the standard editions after. But it's just iterating your work into different forms and variations
I love
because I
it.
think that's super important.
I think it's super important. Um, okay, so go to Kickstarter. Anything else you want to say about it before I tell people where to go and do their thing?
I don't think so.
Okay, go to kickstarter.com/projects/JP Rhineflesh, and that'll the ninth or IX. That'll get you there. Or just go to Kickstarter. The way I always find it is I just go to Kickstarter and I search JP Rhineflesh or I search Mosswood Apothecary, and I'll put a link in the video. Okay, JP, thanks for doing this. Man, I
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you
it. I'm
for
really excited for you. I think what you've done is very cool.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.